Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Hania and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to the video. Welcome back to the lecture. So if you're new on my YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, press the bell icon to get the notification of my each and every video. If you have any question on English to math science, you can comment on any of my video. I'll go through that as soon as possible. So let's start our today's lecture without wasting any of our time. So again, today we're going to be doing English. I'm thinking of changing the subject from English to something else, but very soon. But this lecture and the next lecture is gonna be in English. Okay, of English. Okay, and in English. So today we're going to be doing reading skills. But what are reading skills basically? So reading skills are the abilities that help a person read and understand written text clearly. So these are basically the tone, the rise and fall of voice, and the dialogues, to speak the dialogues accordingly, according to the feeling of the other person. So this is basically what a reading is. They include recognizing words, reading fluency, understanding meanings, and thinking about what the text says. Okay, so here we have to think about what the future is going to be saying and what is going to be happening with what is written in your text clearly and fluently. Good reading skills help students learn better, improve vocabulary, and gain knowledge from books and other reading materials. Whenever we do reading skills, we get new words to know, and when we check in the dictionary, they have their better meanings, and then we come to know about a new word. So this is basically the reading skills. The more you read, the more knowledge you have, and the more vocabulary you gain. Okay, now the reader today we are going to be doing is The Great Expectations. It's a very big novel written by Charles Dickens in 1861, and it's one of his most dramatic novel that he has written. And this is like the first chapter of it. So it's derivation summary of chapter 1, Great Expectations. So we're going to be doing the summary because it's very long. Okay, the first chapter introduces Pip, an orphan living with his strict sister, Mr. Joe, and her kind husband, Joey Gargery. So here, in the very first sentence, you come to know about that there is a sister whose name is Jo, and she's very strict. So the story behind this is his parents and his five little brothers. They were like his parents and his five little brothers basically were buried, and like they all died, and he never saw his father as well. And he don't remember how it looks because he was very young when they died, and he was feels very sad about. Pipsy feels very sad about it as well, like because his strict sister, she's very bad with him, and she's very strict, and she's that one, you can say, not a good sister. And her name is Joe, and her husband Dan, who's a blacksmith, and he's good person, who is Joe Gargery. Okay. While visiting his parents' grave in a churchyard, Pip meets an escaped convict who threatens him and demands food and file to remove his chains. So basically, he had escaped from escaped from the jail, and Hulk jail, and here he wanted Pip to arrange basically a file and food for him, some victuals as well, and like file. And the convict basically here means convict is someone who is guilty, like someone who is in prison because he's guilty of an action, like guilty of a crime. Okay, so that's called a convict. Okay, and who threatens him and demands food and file to remove his chains. Frightened by sympathetic, Pip agrees to help because definitely he was fighting the Pip, so he had to agree with it. This chapter sets the tone of fear and mystery and shows Pip's innocence and kindness, which play an important role throughout the novel. Yes. Great Expectations began with the narrator Pip introducing himself as a small orphan boy. His real name is Philip Pirrip, but because he could not pronounce it properly as a child, he came to be called Pip. So basically, his name was Philip Pirrip, but because it was very hard for him as a child to call his name, so he changed it to Pip. Both of his parents have died, along with his five little brothers, and Pip lives with her elder sister, Mr. Joe Gargery, who has raised him by hands. She's a harsh and short-tempered woman, while her husband Joe Gargery, a blacksmith, is gentle, kind, and protective towards Pip. One cold and gloomy evening, Pip goes to the churchyard near his village where his parents and brothers are buried. As he stands among the graves, he imagines with what his parents might have looked like based on what the shape of the letter on their tombstones. The lonely setting is sitting and the dark marshes nearby create an atmosphere of fear and sadness. So basically, he had not seen his parents, so that's what he was used to do. He was used to imagine how they have looked on the base of the shape of their letters on the tombstones, and this creates an environment of fearness and sadness and loneliness, and all that. Suddenly, a terrifying escaped convict appears from behind the graves. He's dirty, shivering, and dressed in prison clothes, with a broken leg iron still attached on him. The man seizes Pip, turns down, and threatens him violently. He tells Pip that he will kill him if he does not obey his orders. The frightened boy listens to the convict demands that Pip bring him food and a file to cut off his chains. So basically, the file will have him cut off his chains, and the file is going to be from the Pip's sister's husband, brother-in-law, who is Joe Gargery, because he's a blacksmith, like he makes metal objects. Okay. The convict frightens Pip even more by claiming that another man is hiding nearby, and Pip will be attacked by him if he disobeys. Completely terrified, Pip promises to do exactly as he told. So basically, there was no one with the there was no one with the man, the convict, but as he wanted to frighten the Pip because he was just child, no, he was just 10 years old, so he basically just used these type of slangs, and he used to frighten him like this way. The convict then releases him and leaps away into the marshes, warning Pip to return early the next morning with what he has asked for. Shaken and frightened, Pip returns home, filled with fear and guilt, but also pity for miserable man. This opening chapter sets to dark and mysterious tone of the novel and introduces important themes such as fear, kindness, crime, and childhood innocence. It also shows Pip's passionate about nature, and becomes central to his character throughout the story. Okay, so this was basically the first chapter, and now this was the first chapter. It has several chapters, but this is the first chapter, and now we have comprehension questions about it. Who is Pip and how did he get his name? So Pip is the narrator of the story, whose real name is Philip Philip. As a child, he could not pronounce his full name properly, so he called himself Pip. And with whom does Pip live, and how is Mr. Joy and Joe Gargery different in nature? So Pip lives with his elder sister, Mr. Joe Gargery, and her husband Joe. Mr. Joe is harsh and strict, while Joe is kind. Mrs. Joe is harsh and strict, while Joe is kind, gentle, and caring towards Pip. Why does Pip visit a churchyard at the beginning of the chapter? Pip visits churchyard to see the graves of his parents and his 5 little brothers. Then how does Pip imagine the appearance of his parents and brothers? Pip imagines the appearances by looking at the shapes and letters on their tombstones. Describe the setting of the churchyard and the marshes. The churchyard is lonely and gloomy, surrounded by dark, cold marshes, creating a fearful and mysterious atmosphere. Okay, who does Pip meet in the churchyard, and what is his condition? Pip meets an escaped convict who is dirty, hungry, cold, and wearing prison clothes with a leg iron still attached. How does the convict frighten Pip? The convict grabs Pip, turns him upside down, threatens to kill him, and speaks in a harsh and violent manner. Then what demands does the convict make from Pip? The convict demands food and a file to cut off the iron chain from his leg, which was actually a shackle. Okay, why does Pip agree to help the convict? Pip agrees because he's terrified of the convict's threats and fear of his life. What warning does the convict give Pip before leaving? The convict warns Pip not to tell anyone and to bring food and file early the next morning. What? Okay, so what feelings does Pip experience after the convict goes away? Pip feels frightened, shaken, guilty, and disturbed, but also feels pity for the convict. What themes are introduced in the first chapter of the novel? The first chapter introduces themes of fear, crime, childhood innocence, kindness, and moral responsibility. Objective type questions. So Pip's full name is, yes, his full name is Philip Pip, and Pip lives with his sister, his sister and her husband, and Mr. Joy is Pip's elder sister. Okay, here Joe Gargery is a blacksmith. Where does Pip meet the convict? In the churchyard. Not in the church, in the churchyard. Okay. The convict threatens Pip to bring food in a pile. The convict frightens Pip by claiming another man was watching Pip. The convict's leg is bound with rope. Sorry, iron chain. The mood of the first chapter is mostly dark and frightening. The first chapter mainly shows Pip's innocence and kindness. Okay, so this was all of it. We have done objective. I have questions. So this is like an unseen novel for reading. And hope you like today's class. Bye bye. Take care. Allah Hafiz.